Howdy folks, Rudros here, and welcome to another Lorcana Deck Tech. This is recorded after the weekend of both the Birmingham and Las Vegas DLC Disney Lorcana Challenges. If you want to see all the meta decks, you definitely want to click on this Events tab right here and go check out those tournaments. So I thought, everyone's going to know what all the popular meta stuff is. Let's do something very off-meta. Let's just do something that's a lot more fun and kind of revolves around this legendary card that even got enchanted, this Donald Duck Pie Slinger. I haven't actually seen anyone use this in person at a locals once, and I don't blame them. I don't think this card is very good, and this is your forewarning now. This is not a deck to play if you're trying to win a set championship or do well at a challenge. I will have a video coming out shortly, right before the set championships come out, to let you know which decks you should be taking to the set championship. I'm going to have Justin Ward on with me again. He placed in the top 16 this past weekend at Las Vegas, so he definitely has his thumb on the pulse of the meta, so look forward to that video. But for now, we're just going to have fun. The concept of this one was essentially just taking lore from your opponents. So I thought, what would a deck look like if we just loaded it up with cards that either took lore from our opponents or kind of passively gained it? And we can, as opposed to just outright removal, we can essentially use characters that challenge a lot and get lore in fun ways. So, Donald Duck, if you shift onto him, your opponents will lose 2 lore. That's pretty nice. And then if an opponent has 10 or more lore, this character gets a +6 attack. So he's going to be a 9/6 stat line, which is absolutely awesome. Of course, it means you're a bit behind, but that's okay because you're stealing lore anyway. So how do you support this card? Well, you absolutely want a smaller Donald. This is the one I've opted to go with. There are a couple different options. I'm going to show you some text here later. But there is a new Donald that says, like, if he challenges, he can steal lore. That one's okay. I think it's a 3-cost, 2/4. You could go with that one as well. I honestly kind of just like the simplicity of this Donald because you're shifting on 4. You could do the other one, do 3, and then shift a big Donald. So whatever your preferred Donald is, that's your shift target. Now, we have a couple new cards let's talk about. Taffyta Mutton Fudge. When you play her, if you have a location in play, each opponent is going to lose 1 lore. We have several cards that deal with locations, so we'll touch on what locations we have later. Then this Taffyta can shift on to this one, and it's turn 2. So if you hit that other one, then this one, obviously you're not going to get the lore because you're not going to have a location that early, but this one, once per turn when this character moves to a location, gain 2 lore, which is pretty nice. So, let's see. As long as you have a location in play, and I think our cheapest one here is Sugar Rush Speedway. So let's say you get Sugar Rush on 1. By turn 3, you could both play this Taffyta and do this one. You can't move and then you can move to a location for free. Yeah, you can move to Sugar Rush Speedway for free. So with 3 ink, you'll gain 2 lore and steal 1 from your opponent. That's pretty fun. I like this card quite a bit. We'll touch on Flynn in a second. I'm going to go over all the new stuff first. So who else do we have? We have Maximus. Big 6-cost character. At the end of your turn, if you have any characters in play with 5 attack or more, you just passively gain 2 lore. If you have any in play with 10 or more, you gain 5 lore instead. And since there's no interaction on your turn, during your opponent's turn, if you can come down and have something with 10 attack, you're going to gain 5 lore instantly. Now, 10 attack sounds like a lot, and you're certainly right, it is. I did have Gaston in here originally, but I think by the time you get him out, it's going to be far too tricky. So what we're using is 4 Ruby Chromicons. For free, once they're in play, you can just exert these to give a character +1 attack. So if you have a Maui in play, standard beater Maui, the turn you play him, let's say if you happen to get all 4 Chromicons in there, you can bump him up to a 10 cost, which is probably overkill on whatever he's hitting. But then let's say you put Maui on 5, here comes Maximus on 6. You can bump him up. Suddenly, you're just going to immediately gain 5 lore with Maximus. Or let's say the 10 is completely out of reach. Just bump something up to 5. You can 2 of them up to Maximus. There you go. You've got 2 lore instantly with that. I think the rubies are the big way to boost a lot of these. If you're able to get this Donald Duck and he has the natural 9 attack power, a simple ruby Chromicon, boom, he's already at 10. Speaking of Chromicons, also very important is the Amethyst Chromicon. Again, the whole point of this deck is that you need to be spending your ink on your characters and your items. You can't afford to continuously spend ink beyond that. You'll notice, as far as the purple cards, it's mainly all card draw, and there is no Merlin Mim package because it takes a lot of slots that you're going to have to cut a lot of stuff. If you want to play a competitive Ruby Amethyst deck, you can go play the Merlin Min package. You want to have fun, you play this one. I like the Chromacon a lot when you are doing a cheesy deck. I don't think it's very good in a fair deck because you're just giving your opponents cards for no reason. But in a deck where you can cheese the win very quickly, like an aggro deck or maybe like Jafar Wheel, I think it's quite fine there. Same with this. You're a little more okay with giving them cards because the idea is that you're going to be taking lore away from them and doing your own passive lore as well. So you just, I think it kind of offsets that a little bit. Hence why the only other card draw character-wise we have is Maleficent. You could put the Rabbit in. It will up the uninkable count, although we have a super low uninkable count as is. But you could put the Rabbit in there, but again, you have no way to bounce it. So... And I think if you put the entire Merlin Min package in here, you're basically just playing more traditional Ruby Amethyst at that point. Now, we also have the sword released. At the start of your turn, if you have a character in play with more attack than each opposing character, each opponent loses a lore, and you'll gain a lore equal to lost. Very, very good with the Chromacon. You can take a character as tiny as this Taffyta Mutton Fudge, and if they have a 2 strength in play, you can buff it with 2 Chromacons. Suddenly, you've got the most attack power in play. So with your Chromacons, the sword is very, very easy to trigger. And then you're going to just slowly siphon off lore and then slowly push it up towards your end. Be prepared. Standard, things get out of control, wipe the board, friends on the other side, card draw. Let's look at our locations. So Queen's Castle, if you've been playing the game for any number of sets, just arguably the best location in the game, can contribute to card draw, lore. I won't spend too much time on that. So let's talk about the Snuggly Duckling. Snuggly Duckling has 9 health, which is fantastic. And whenever a character with 3 or more attack challenges any other character while here, you immediately gain a lore. And if the challenging character has 6 attack or more, you gain 3 lore. Obviously, we have some candidates to immediately fill this. Maui, the shifted Donald Duck, if his second condition triggers. But again, even something like a Super Goof, if you can back him up with the Chromacons, not only is he now taking out the cards he's challenging, which was kind of one of the issues with this card, is that he tended not to kill whatever he challenged. Not only can he potentially kill with the Chromacon, if he's at the Snuggly Duckling, now you're gaining lore off of it as well. Now, the problem with the Snuggly Duckling is it costs 2 to move there. Again, we're trying to reserve what we spend our ink on, right? Well, that's where Sugar Rush Speedway comes in. This costs only 1 to play, so you can play on the very first turn of the game, and it has a movement bonus of 0. It only costs 0 ink to move there, so any character can immediately move to the Speedway. Then, once per turn, it has the effect you can exert chosen character here and deal them 1 damage to move them to another location for free. You probably don't want to overly use that unless it's going to trigger some effect. So this Taffyta, she moves, she's going to gain 2 lore. The Hey, he moves, and then they're going to lose 1 lore. Ideally, you get 2 Sugar Rush Speedways out, and then you can just bounce between them at no cost, and any of these characters who trigger off locations, you can trigger them off the Speedway as well. So I would only use the actual effect from the Speedway if you absolutely have to. It's mainly here because it's just a really cheap location that can be moved to completely for free as a cheap way to trigger all these location effects. Finally, we have Flynn Rider. You could cut this for 2 Lumiere. I'll talk about him in the text slots. Or no, I don't have him on there. But yeah, Lumiere buffs every other character's attack by 1. Flynn is fine. If you get big cards out there like Maui, like Donald, Flynn should trigger pretty reliably. The problem is he doesn't work well with the Chromacon since he triggers at the start of the turn. So even if you have a bunch of Chromacons, you can't buff someone up to make sure that the Flynn always triggers. But the Flynn is not the main goal. So again, you could easily swap him out for Lumiere. So, this is the main deck. Show it to you in picture form. I really like it. It's been fun to mess around with. Again, don't expect to pull off anything crazy with this, and if your opponents are playing super meta stuff, you very well could get run over with this. But if you're just looking to have fun, if you've got those casual league nights where people are willing to bring non-meta decks and trying to explore some just fun ideas, I think you'd really enjoy this one. Let me talk about a few tech options you could put into this as well. Next we have, so you could do the Aladdin package. I think you need to run both, so you basically need to run 8 cards here. It does take a lot of slots. I think this character is very good when he's shifted on 5. I don't think he's nearly as good if you have to wait until turn 7 and then turn 8 to actually use him. Minnie is okay, except you need to then run the Mickey as well. Ralph, I don't really like. We're not running any of the self-damaging effects, so any of the like self-damaging cards I'm not really into here. Who's With Me sounds good in theory. Characters get +2 this turn, and then if Maui, it says characters with Reckless, so basically Maui is going to gain 2 lore from attacking. Combine that with the Snuggly Duckling, you could get a lot of lore in one turn. Seems a little too pie in the sky for me, so I opted to leave it out. Evil Comes Prepared. If they're a villain, they gain 1 lore. We don't really have a ton of villains. We got a few, like Maleficent. But it's not really a villain deck, so I wouldn't really think of that one too much. Pirate's Life. This card's fun. It's inkable. It can be sung. I mean, it fits our thing. I don't know. I kind of find this one to be very slow. I'd rather do it through characters because the characters can then also quest as a backup. But you could jam it in there. Radigan's Party. Again, this goes in with the damaging theme. We just don't really do that. However, if you're since most of your characters are going to be challenged, or challenging, so they probably will get damage on them, maybe that one would work, but I kind of just prefer the other locations. Finally, the Shere Khan or Queen package. Not finally, I want to talk about Lee in a second. Shere Khan has the just by challenging you gain lore, so he absolutely could fit in here. I don't know. It's not. Is he too slow? There's just something about Shere Khan that I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not doing a ton of challenging early, but yeah, maybe you could swap him in place of the Flynns, or the opposite. If it's not the lore you're worried about and you want more card draw, you could run a Queen of Hearts package to get this one. This way, all that challenging is also getting you cards back. I think that's quite good. Finally, Li Shang, I think, is absolutely worth talking about. You'd have to run... I guess you don't have to run a lower one to shift onto him, but I think he works very well there. This one just says your characters with 4 attack or more get +1 lore. I think this is one of the best cards we can have to work with the Chromicons, as you can take a character, take this Taffyta Mutton Fudge. She can not only move for free, you buff her up with a Chromicon, she has 4 strength, suddenly she's now questing for 1 more lore as well. I think I might restructure the deck if I was trying to build it around Li Shang. Again, this one is kind of more on challenging and taking lore from your opponent, but I think there's a lot of potential in this card. Anyway, that's the deck. Let me know if you try it out. Let me know if you've got any suggestions, other fun lore stealing activities that you love to do. Something you could even throw in is like a Rabbit's Pocket Watch way back from set 1. That way you have the ability to get any one of these characters rush. You could do a Cogsworth too, but I kind of like the Pocket Watch because you could reuse it over and over again. Although, again, that kind of bleeds into the you only have so much ink you can use in this deck and you're trying to be as conservative with it as possible. Let me know what you think. Look forward to that video telling you what to take to your set championships this set and how you can win yourself a lovely Mirabelle and maybe that Champions mat as well. Stay tuned for more Lorcana videos from Rudros TCG. I appreciate you watching so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And consider donating to us on our Patreon. It really helps move us forward where I want to go with the channel in this future. Thanks so much. And until next time, take care.